good, y'all? It's Stinger, and today I'm going to be showing each and every one of you guys how to make a sad, emotional, and sorrowful piano pain beat for Lil Tjay and Rodway. So to set aside all the intro hubbub, let's just get right to it. Alright, so this is the first part of the melody that I'm going to be going over. First thing I did for this melody is I laid out a bass line, and this being a 6, 4, 1, 7. This plugin is great for any kind of like emotional piano beats, and it's also great for plugin B, so it's a multi-use chord progression in that sense. After I had that bass line laid out, I threw some chords on top of it. As you can see, there is absolutely no shortage of 7th chords in this melody. I like to use 7th chords because it makes the melody a little bit more interesting than just using basic triads. As you can see, I have them offset in a pretty random manner instead of just using all S to strum them. I did this because I wanted to make it sound a little bit more realistic, and the strummizer is pretty robotic. Also, as you can see, the velocity on the piano is very low. I did this because I didn't want a whole lot of hard attack or transient in the piano because it kind of takes away from the emotional, melancholic sound. After I had those chords laid out, I transposed them to make them sound a little bit more full. When it comes to transposing your chords, a note that I like to use is the 5th. I'll just take the 5th and bring it down an octave because it still leaves a good amount of room in the chords. That way it's not all just clustered together. After I had those transposed, I threw on a top line melody. When it comes to these top line melodies, a great thing to do is to work in reverse. What I mean by that is know where you want your melody to end up on. So for this first portion of the top line melody, I wanted it to end on the B because that was the highest note of the chord. So all I did was build this melody to make it spiral downward and end up transitioning from the C sharp to the B. If you're stuck on transitions between your melodies, a good go-to is to use notes that are one note away from each other in the scale, i.e. the C sharp and the B. Some good notes to build your counter melodies off of are the 7th, the 5th, the 3rd, and sometimes the 4th. Right here, the G sharp is the 7th of the chord, the B is the 5th of this chord, the E is the 5th of this chord, and the D sharp here is the 9th of the chord. So now that we've broken that down, let's go into the next part of the melody. For this, I'm making a lead using the Whistler's Bells preset from Omnisphere, and this is what it sounds like. And yet again, here we're playing around with the 7th and the 5th of the chords. So this G sharp is the 7th of the chord playing at the time, and this E is the 5th. After that, I threw on the Distant Memories pad from Omnisphere, and this is what it sounds like. For that, I just have it playing the chords that we built in the first melody. From there, I threw on these vocals from Arcade from the Distant Voices pack, and this is what they sound like. These kind of high-pitched vocals are a staple when it comes to making pain beats, and Arcade is a great place to get them from. And the last portion of the melody is this sub bass from Serum. To get that slide sound in the octaves, be sure to put mono and legato on in the voicings tab. That will make it so only one note can play at a time and the notes will slide into each other. So this is what all the aspects of the melody sound like together. So there's a lot going on in terms of the mixing for the melody, so I'm not going to go and break down each individual melodic aspect. Rather, I'm going to break them down grouped as a whole. If you've watched my tutorials, then you know this trick for mixing melodies. What I do is I'll take all the melodic components of my beat and route them all to one track using route to this track only. From there, I'll throw an OTT with about 50% depth, fresh air with settings of your liking, an EQ taking out the low end, and then some EQs taking out unwanted frequencies. Without all those, this is what the melody sounds like. And with all those effects, you can see there's a huge difference between the two. Now that we're done with the melody, let's move into the drums. First portion of the drums I lay down is this 808, and all the drum sounds from this beat can be found in my Hive stash kit, which you can get for free in the link in the description. So this is what they sound like. When making 808 patterns for beats like this, try to keep the 808s a little bit spaced out so that there's a lot more bounce, because the best way to create bounce is to leave some dead space. After that, I threw down this kick to accompany the 808. After that, I threw down this basic clap pattern, and then I threw down an accent snare. Then I threw down these super spaced out hi-hats. For these types of beats, I don't really like to go with just a basic two-step hi-hat. It kind of takes away from some of the bounce. After that, I threw an open hat on the downbeat. I like throwing this in because it makes the kick and 808 hit a whole lot harder on the downbeat. And the last portion of the drums is this rim. So this is what the drums and the melody sound like all together. So that is going to pretty much cover how to make a pain beat for Lil Tjay and Rod Wave. Hopefully you enjoyed the tutorial and learned something new. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments down below and I'll do my best to answer them. Other than that, that's going to be it. Peace.